Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The comically oversized Snifter has returned, which means it's already going to be a good Friday, and I do have to say sometimes my genius even amazes myself. I will explain momentarily. Welcome back. It is another BS in a beer session. Seems like only a week since I've done this last. I'll see myself out. Sliding in, and I just knocked over something in the process, we have our beer for the evening. Hopefully, there we go, focus. This is from Victory Brewing Company in Downington, Pennsylvania. This is Oak Horizontal. It is a barrel-aged version of their standard Barleywine Old Horizontal, which, absolutely great name, by the way. But this is a barley aged in bourbon barrels. I do not believe it says what the barrel is. Oh, wait, let's see. It does not say which kind. But be that as it may, there we go. It is 11%, and here's my genius. Years ago when I got it. 2014. Well, and it's heavy alcohol. It's a style that's meant to be aged. It is corked, and I have stored it relatively sanely. Sanely would be the word. But let's see. Okay, it's going to come out easier than I thought. Oh, no pop at all. I told Julie Farnham one day I'm actually going to saber one of these open. Actually, if you get it right, it's real easy to saber open a bottle, even with a butter knife. Let's give it a sniff. Yep, I think we are in very good stead, so let us give it a pour. Fill up a little bit of the comically oversized Snifter. It is 11%, and yeah, that's going to be good for now. Yeah, smells nice and caramely. So, absolutely no carbonation, but again, 11 years old and corked. Not that surprising. So, stay tuned. We're going to flip and we're going to talk some football. Hazel. All right, we're back over here. We've got our fishbowl filled. Now let's do the breakdown. So, barley wine's going to be very malty, very sweet, very caramely. That's what I get. So that's there. Traces of the barrel, though, and if you ever have partaken or smelled any sort of bourbon or whiskey, especially American, you'll know it has a very distinct smell, oftentimes with hints of vanilla, and that is because there's a compound in oak, especially because bourbon barrels are oak barrels. Is this weird? It's good enough. Are made of white oak, and it has a compound, I believe it's called vanillin. I've got schmutz from the cage on my hand. Vanillin, which lends itself to the actual taste of vanilla. That's why most bourbon has that sweet taste, bourbon and whiskey. There is a difference, as I covered earlier. Either way, let's go. It's 11%, and it's been sitting in the basement for a while. I get the taste of the bourbon. Ooh! Oh, I like you. 2014 apparently was a good year for Oak Horizontal. I wish I knew what barrel they aged in. I'm sure if I dig through some of the beer apps, some of the beer people out there will probably be able to tell me specifically. Some breweries do it, but this is so old. Very, very doubtful. Oh, I like that. It's sweet, it's caramely, it's a little bit of raisin, it's a little bit of vanilla. Oh, it's all rolled into one. Plus, it's 11%. And it's in the glass in front of me, which makes it all the better. Yeah. Yep. All right. So last week was the ACC. There were a ton of games. This week, boom, it's the Big 12. That is right. We will be covering all 16 teams of the Big 12. Don't worry. I'll make a very similar one for the Big 10. And if they're still called the Pac-12 with their 93 teams in their respective divisions or whatever. A lot of these, unfortunately, and this is now where the problem that we ran into last week that I was talking about with the conference switchings because of the amount of money thrown in there, a lot of the Big 12 trophies, sadly, are either defunct or probably within a year or so of being defunct, and there are some very, very big ones. However, there's quite a few that we've already talked about in previous episodes because they played other schools. University of Central Florida, UCF, versus South Florida. They were in the American Conference, the war for I-4. Cincinnati and Louisville. Louisville in the ACC. The Keg of Nails. Houston versus Rice. The Bayou Bucket. We talked about that. One of my favorites from last week, TCU versus SMU for the Iron Skillet. That was a cool one. I like that one. And then you have West Virginia versus Syracuse for the Ben Schwartzwalder Trophy, and West Virginia versus Virginia Tech, also cool trophy for the Black Diamond Trophy. Those are cool, but it does limit the amount that we have to talk to because there's a lot of big rivalries in the Big 12 and Big 12 adjacent, but not many trophy games still remain. There is actually 5 of them that are essentially, that are pretty much defunct, and there's a 6th one that we're going to talk about that probably is in danger. So let's just get right going. And I love the ones with names. This is the Duel in the Desert. University of Arizona versus Arizona State, the Wildcats and the Sun Devils. And they play for what is called the Territorial Cup. I like the name, and I'll tell you why. The rivalry began when they first played each other in 1899. And it was, I can't remember, I think it was Tempe, Arizona Tempe Normal School. That's the inscription that's on the trophy, because the trophy also itself is from 1899. It has been certified by the NCAA as not only the oldest rivalry trophy. I'm sorry, I misspoke. In college football, like I say, the trophy itself dating back to 1899. So let's see. And the Territorial Cup, it was because in 1899, Arizona was a territory. It didn't become a territory or a state until the year 1912. So this is even pre them being in the States, which I think really adds to the history. Basically, though, after the 1899 initial tournament, the cup itself went missing. Then it was rediscovered. In 1980, it was in the vault of a church that was very in close proximity to Arizona State. Well, they got the trophy back, and they continue to play for it to this day. They still played the games from 1899 to 1979 and 1980. They just didn't have the trophy. They still called it the Duel in the Desert, which is a great name for anything. Currently, the last meeting last year, Arizona State won. They currently hold the cup, but Arizona has the series record, 51, 45, and 1. The next game will be November the 28th. The Duel in the Desert resumes at Arizona State. So that's going to be, that should be an interesting one. Because I love to see like the pictures of them actually with the trophies, especially this one for how old it is. Number 2. Now we have Baylor and TCU. The good old Baylor Bears and our favorite, the TCU Horned Frogs. I like that name, I'm not going to lie. This is the Bluebonnet Bowl, and it is played for the Bluebonnet Shield. Started in 1899 as well. However, the trophy is extremely new. The trophy only came around in 2023. One of the most played meetings in all of the rivalry series. They've played 121 times since their first meeting in 1899. Although there was a big gap from 1995 until the year 2006, this game was not played just due to scheduling and whatnot. But when it came back in 2006, it was nicknamed the Revivalry, which I think is also a great name. But then sponsorships got involved. The trophy was created in 2023, and the rest, as they say, is history. They played earlier this year. TCU won on October the 18th, so really last week. TCU also has the series record, 60, 54, and 7. I don't know why I have so much trouble with that. Probably because I'm looking at the dashes and I think it's a score. You know what'll help? Pause time. That'll help. And now as it warms, and this actually is, it's crazy how much it changes just in the 5 minutes or so we've been talking here. A lot more raisin, a lot more of the dark fruit, which is indicative of this style just because of the sheer amount of malts and caramel malts that are used. It's nice. It's smooth. It's weirdly smooth. A little touch of bitterness at the end, but again, that is all to do with the age. I think that aged really well. I am a fan. That is the only bottle of it I have. Probably for a good reason, because if I wasn't on camera, I don't know, I'd probably be drinking it even slower. Let's be honest. And now, number 3. And this is one that sadly might be going away, and this is just unfortunate. This is BYU, the Brigham Young University Cougars, and Utah State, the Aggies. This is for the Old Wagon Wheel. This is the stuff I'm talking about. The Old Wagon Wheel, an actual legitimate wagon wheel. Came around in 1922, but the trophy itself came around in 1948, and it was in homage to, because BYU especially is a very big Mormon school, obviously Brigham Young himself, who I think was the 2 or 3 times great-grandfather to Steve Young, by the way. It was an homage to the covered wagons that the Mormons took on their journey west until they ended up in Utah, so, the wheel off of one of the wagons. And basically, huge, big cultural and societal event in the state of Utah. However, the Old Wagon Wheel hasn't been played for since 2022. Utah State moved conferences, and they canceled they canceled all the games from 2023 to 2016. There is a possibility it will come back at some point in the future. However, it is not looking good, and I fear that the Old Wagon Wheel might be retired. BYU currently has it, and the series lead 51-37-3. And that's the problem. Like, yes, I know. If you're a college administrator overseeing the athletic department, you're thinking, shut up, you fool. Well, you know what? You're not here. So it's just a problem because all this history and all this culture and all this, ties to football from back in the old days is now just being discarded for money. And it's just a shame because, like I say, the Old Wagon Wheel, it's been played, a lot of times. The Bluebonnet Bowl is continuously played every year for the time being. Nobody knows if that's going to continue. It's really sad because, and now there's a very distinct possibility that the Old Wagon Wheel will remain, wherever they have it at the BYU athletic department. Maybe they'll continue to display it, but who knows? Probably in another 10 or so years, if this game is no longer being played, the students are going to forget about it. Even the football players are going to forget about it. And that would just be an absolute shame. But unfortunately, you and I are not in charge of these sort of things. Now, we're going to leave Utah, and we're going to go to Ohio. I'm sorry, but this is the University of Cincinnati versus Miami University of Ohio. Can't remember exactly where in Ohio it is, but is the alma mater of Ben Roethlisberger. This is the battle for the bell, and it is a victory bell. The rivalry itself is old, 1888. It goes back a long way, and the bell itself is equally as old. It came around sometime in the 1890s when a group of Cincinnati students stole the bell from Miami of Ohio's Old Main. And just took it because Cincinnati won the football game. So the students jacked the bell, took it with them, and then it became a trophy. Although the bell used now is a replica of the original bell because, they typed that thing in the 1890s. And bells, have a very long life. That thing could have been made, who knows, in the 1700s even. So yeah, it's preserved somewhere. I cannot recall where. But with 128 meetings, and because Miami of Ohio isn't even remotely in the Big 12, this is the oldest non-conference trophy in the NCAA, and it is a close one. Cincinnati currently has the trophy and the series record by a game, 61-60-7. By the way, it will be played, it wasn't played last year, I think it's played every other year. But next year, it will be played September the 19th, 2026, and the bell will continue to toll. And that was poetic. Every now and then the universe delivers. Now, we're leaving Ohio. We're going to Colorado. This is Colorado and Colorado State in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. That is what we're here for. That screams sports, the Rocky Mountain Showdown. And this is for the Centennial Cup. You know, many trophies are named the Centennial Cup, the Governor's Cup, or the Mayor's Cup. We're going to run into a lot of those. This one, the rivalry began 1893 and was played until 1958 and then just kind of stopped. Then it came back in 1983 and sporadically, and then it was played solid from 1995 to 2019, and then it became sporadic again. 2024, last year was the last time it was played. Colorado, the University of, currently has the Centennial Cup and the series record with a 69-22-2 record. Now, here's the sad part for this one. The next scheduled game for the Rocky Mountain Showdown is September the 15th, 2029. I did not write that down improperly, nor did I read that improperly. That game will not be played for another 4 years. And at that point, you almost got to think the Centennial Cup might end up being retired very soon as well, and that is just sad. Beer time. Beer time because why not time? Yeah, now it's getting like almost a buttery note. Oh, I love the physics behind beer changing. It is such a glorious thing. Cheers. And for anybody curious, Downington, PA is over on the eastern side of the state. Let's see if it actually says the zip code on it. Victory Brewing Company, Downington, PA. It does not, but it would probably be a 119 zip code. That's out the eastern side of the state. Where were we? All right, so we are leaving Colorado, and a lot of these are interstate rivalries, so there's going to be a lot of the map graphics too, and you love the interstate rivalries. And it's usually like University of versus state. Well, we go to Iowa. This is Iowa State versus the University of Iowa for the Cy-Hawk Trophy. A great name, combination of the Iowa State Cyclones and the Iowa Hawkeyes. 1894, again, very, very old rivalry, and that's what I love. The history. Don't take the trophies away. Come on. But then the trophy itself came around in 1977, which was the first time they had met since 1934. The trophy has changed over the years. They've redesigned it a couple of times. The one in the picture now is the current trophy design that came around in 2011. And it is played either in Iowa City or in Ames. That's it. They don't schedule it anywhere else. It's always either at one or the other, and I can't remember which one is which. I think Iowa City is the University of Iowa, I think. Zach, put it up there if I'm right or not. Thank you. It was played earlier this year, September the 6th, 2025. Iowa State took the trophy. Iowa has the series lead 47-25. And the next game will be next year, September the 12th, 2026, at the University of Iowa. So thankfully, the battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy is around. And this is like I say, because you look at the 16 teams in the Big 12, and there's a lot of old teams. Yet we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 2 more to talk about. That's it. And then a bunch of defunct ones. That is sad to me. We need it's not going to change. Nothing, I don't think anything is going to change it because there's just way too much money being thrown around, and that just, it's not good for it, and it's, I think honestly it's going to be the downfall of college football because essentially there's going to be 2 or 3 conferences. I'm thinking it's probably going to be the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC. Those are going to be the only one that are putting out people to the NFL, and let's look at what's happened the past couple of years with draft picks in the NFL. In a word, not good. So 2 words. But either way. So now we leave Iowa. We're going close by, just right next door. We're going to Kansas. This is Kansas versus Kansas State. Again, beautiful name. The Sunflower Showdown. I like it. It's peaceful, except it's football, so you know it's not. And this, as I said before, this is for the Governor's Cup. The rivalry started in 1902, and the trophy came around 1969. With the exception of the COVID year, The Sunflower Showdown, here is consistency, folks, has been played every year since 1911. You love to see it. You love to hear it. Although, it was based on the 1980 season where I think it was Kansas had to... was it Kansas? Yes, it was Kansas had to forfeit the entire season due to some NCAA infractions. So we have controversy, a real first controversy. According to Kansas, the University of Kansas, they lead the series 65, 52, and 5. However, because of that loss that they had to forfeit, and Kansas says we don't need to forfeit that one, according to the Kansas State alumni, they lead 64, 53, and 5. Either way, it is what it is, but it adds for it. The Sunflower Showdown will be played tomorrow, October the 25th. Kansas State currently has the cup, so that should be a good one. I'm going to be curious to see who comes out with that one. And the final one, and that's sad. That's sad that I actually had to say the words "the final one" because everything else is gone. We have TCU versus Texas Tech. It is called the West Texas Championship, and it is played for the Saddle Trophy. If there was anything more Texas than that, I defy you to show it to me. The rivalry itself dates back to 1926. The trophy came around in 1961 and was played from 61 to 1970. And then the trophy was lost and people quit caring about it. So that lay dormant. The trophy itself, the West Texas Championship, was continued to be played. But then in 2017, they found the saddle. I don't know if they found the original saddle, but they at least brought it back. So the saddle has returned. Currently, Texas Tech has the series lead, 33, 31, and 3. Really, really close. TCU currently has the trophy, and the next time, because it's a non-conference thing, the next time it will be played will be next year sometime in the 2026 season. So that's it. And I'm sorry, but like the Big 12, 16 teams, old teams. Like very old teams. Nothing. That's it. 8, possibly 7, actually possibly 6. Because with the old wagon wheel not being played again until 2029, and the old wagon wheel not even scheduled to be played, and the Centennial Cup for the Rocky Mountain Showdown not scheduled to be played for another 4 years, we could be down to 7. I'm actually glad I'm doing this now. If I waited another year or so, we might have run out of trophies. I'm going to have another sip of this, and then we're going to take a look at the defunct ones, because some of them are really good. And I I was mentioning it to Julie. She's a University of Missouri alumni. Hey, Missouri poked its head into a couple of these, but they're all defunct, unfortunately. But we'll get to them at some point when we get to, what are they, the SEC, I think? It's hard to remember conferences. I don't even remember what college or what conference my alma mater is, because I don't think that conference even exists anymore. But we will have a sip of the beer. A good old sip of the beer. And now some of the defunct ones. There was a 3-way battle between Utah State, and Brigham Young for the now defunct Beehive Trophy. Who had it and who got it? There was this whole thing about 4 or 5 years ago when they were talking about, we're going to get the trophy, we're going to bring the trophy home, yada yada, we have secured the trophy. But that hasn't been, I think, since 2021, and I would dare say, especially because Utah State is not in the conference anymore, I think it's safe to say that the Beehive boot, I think I said Beehive Trophy, but it's the Beehive boot, that is actually a Pioneers boots, that one's gone. I don't even remember who has it. I think BYU has it, but I honestly can't remember. And then I talked about Missouri. This is Iowa State versus Missouri. It was played for the telephone trophy. I think that's kind of cool. An old rotary phone split with the two schools' colors. It was last played in the year 2011. Okay, here you go. I answered my question earlier. I wrote it down because Missouri joined the SEC. 2011, SEC now has a bunch of rules about other non-conference games, whatnot. Telephone trophy is defunct, unfortunately. And again, the same fate met this one, Kansas and Missouri. It was called the Border War, and it was for the Indian War Drum. Same exact thing. Last time it was played was 2011 when Mizzou left to join the SEC. So the Indian War Drum has now been retired. And then we have Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma in the Bedlam series. The Bedlam Bell, last time it was played was 2023. However, Oklahoma then left and joined the SEC. The future is very much in doubt. They say the earliest possible time it could be played again would be the year 2031. It ain't coming back, folks. I hate to say it. It's not coming back. Unfortunately, the Bedlam Bell is not coming back. And the final one, and this one actually looks really cool. It happened in the same year, 2023. It was Texas Tech versus Texas in the battle for the Chancellor's Spurs. I mean, that is pretty cool. Last time it was played was 2023. Then Texas left and joined the SEC. Future, very much in doubt. Most likely, the battle for the Chancellor's Spurs and the Spurs themselves have been officially retired. It's sad, isn't it? Like, even if you're not a sports fan, or even if you're not, a football fan or a sports fan in general, it's just kind of sad when you see stuff like that, go away, because you look back even a decade ago with some of these trophies, how excited these kids were that they beat their rival and could bring home the trophy. Like, you can see in the pictures of any of these trophies where the kids or even the coaches are holding them up, just what it means to them. And it's just being taken away, and it's just very sad, but that is the way of the world. Everything is about money. Everything is about this and that. And until we really definitively prove that, guys, the college football being played right now is not very good college football and does not translate very much into the NFL, it's just going to continue to get worse. And that's just sad because, who knows, if I would have done this 2 years later, I probably could have done 6 conferences in one day or in one episode, because there just wouldn't be any. And you don't want it to happen. And for any of you guys watching in the audience, maybe you're an alumni of one of these schools. Maybe you were in the stands when this game was being played one year and you watched and you cheered and you got to see them hoist that trophy, something that, it's like a big middle finger to the other school. Like, yeah, guess what? We got it and you don't. It could be all gone. The next generation, even, kids that are in college now may never know that feeling. And I think that's just kind of unfortunate. But again, that is not up to us. That is not up to us to decide, unfortunately, because we make a little more common sense decisions, I would think, considering I know you guys that watch my stuff. I think there would be a lot more common sense being spouted off. So we're going to have one more. We're going to wind it down. We're going to go over. We're going to say hi to Aaron, sports cards and things. It's Aloha Friday. Let's join in and say hi. That's nice. And again, this is nice to spend another half hour or so with you guys. It means the world to me, and I hope you enjoyed as well. So, that's going to do it for this, the Big 12. Big 10 will be next week. Big 12 because they use the number 12 and not the word. So, numbers go before in alphabetical order. So, Big 10 will be next week, and who knows? There could be 2 in there for all we know. With how this one went, absolutely no idea. But what's coming tomorrow? The Voynich manuscript, I think piqued a lot of people's interest. And I found out later, actually, it was about 10 minutes after I had finished filming it, that it was Yale's server that crashed, because I brought it back up, although it was kind of funny. It would have been kind of funny, like, yep, there it is. We shouldn't be looking at this. Crash. But no, that was it. But so tomorrow, we're going to take a look, and because we're really approaching the spooky season, I've got a little, maybe a little spooky things, but even if it's not spooky per se, it's interesting, I'll tell you that, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about some ghost ships. What are ghost ships? Stay tuned tomorrow. You will find out. But that is going to do it, so I'll raise my glass once more. This is American beer, so I'm only going to butcher English, which I have done every day of my life since I've been talking. Cheers, my friends, if you're having one along. Yeah, that's just getting sweet. I'm going to need to get something salty to counteract that. But I'm going to leave you with this parting thought as I bid you a farewell and good evening. If you think about it, once you attain a PhD, every meeting you go to becomes a doctor's appointment. Have a good night, everybody.